So once you place all your scaffold around the perimeter of your building, and given that we'd already set up our formwork and the props, the next step is to actually start preparing this Revit project in order for you to associate with it a timeline. And this whole process is going to be done in Navisworks, right? So the process of combining in a timeline with each of these objects in your project, this is going to be achieved in another software known as Navisworks. However, before we even export this model to Navisworks, we got to do a bit of preparation. And that preparation is in terms of adding a field to each of these objects, what we would refer to as the shared parameters. And I'll show you how to do that. Now, the reason for adding that shared parameter is just to make our lives easier when it comes to setting up this association between the timeline and the individual objects, as you will see in an upcoming video. However, in Revit, in order to add this field, this additional field to each of these objects, what we got to do is we got to go to manage, and under manage click on project information. Sorry, not project information, project parameters, which is that one over here. Okay, so we need to add a parameter to this project, and it's going to be a shared parameter. So select shared and go to select. Now you guys can see that I've already added a parameter from before, task ID. However, if you still don't have this added, and most probably you won't, what you got to do is you click on edit and say that, if you guys remember back when we created our shared parameters, we had this new file created in our directory where we saved all our shared parameters in. So all of these shared parameters were saved in this file. Now, if you don't have that file created, what you can do is you can go to create and browse to one of the locations, so say over here, and let me call this shared 2 for instance. Click on save. So now if you look at this directory, it's gonna open up to wherever you created the new shared parameter file, and in that we're gonna save, number one, we're gonna create a group. So let's say simulation 4D. So now that we created the group, we want to add the parameter to it. So we want to add the task ID parameter to it, and this task ID is going to be common to all disciplines, so structural, electrical, piping, and it's going to be a number, right? So well, actually I prefer that you chose text as its type, so make sure you change this field from length to text. Okay, and click OK. So now we've created that parameter. Click on OK, select it, and as you will see, you will notice that this field changes into task ID, the parameter that we created. The other thing to note is that we want this to be an instance, not a type parameter, an instance parameter. So what that means is that for each and every object, each and every instance of an object, you would have a different ID. You can potentially have a different ID for a type. Even though if I were to select this, so if I were to select this, what happens is that even if you had multiple instances of one type, all of these instances would have the same the same task ID basically. So you can't change within the instances of the same type. So always go with an instance parameter. Next, we want to group it under construction. So select construction, and then we want to check all. So we want to add it to each and every element, each and every object that we have in our project. And once that is done, you just click OK, and you will notice now that we have task ID as part of our project parameters. So if we click on OK, I'll show you now. If I go to my slab, say for instance, if I check on the properties, right on the left side under construction, I've got now a task ID field where I can enter information in there. Again, if I select this scaffold, for instance, I've got that field where I can enter information related to the task ID of that scaffold. So you can experiment by clicking on all of these elements that you have in your project, and you'll notice that this field is always present. In the next video, I'll show you what exactly to enter in that field. So the information to enter in that field and how that is going to be linked to an external timeline.